She knew something was wrong the moment her calendar invite for the quarterly review mysteriously vanished. No notification, no cancellation. Just poof, like her presence at the company had been quietly deleted by a backspace key in someone's HR spreadsheet. And maybe that was the first crack. Not the last client call she crushed, not the gift basket from a 10-year account, not even the custom thank you email signed by a VP from another department. It was a damn calendar invite, disappearing like her value never existed. For 6 years, Olivia had built the kind of sales record that made company dashboards blush. Not because she was some blowhard ringing bells after every deal, but because she understood something that can't be taught in onboarding slides. Trust beats charm, consistency beats charisma, and clients don't care if your pitch deck has motion graphics if you don't remember their kids' names. She wasn't flashy. She didn't scream her numbers in meetings. But her renewal rate was higher than the marketing budget, and the only reason half those clients even stayed with the company was because they knew they could call Olivia after hours and she'd actually answer. She had her rituals. Monday mornings were handwritten thank you notes. Fridays were pulse check calls, 10 minutes, no selling, just asking real questions like, are we still earning your business? Used a color-coded spreadsheet so complicated it scared interns, and a CRM template she built herself, because the company one was a steaming pile of bugs and broken logic. She played the long game, always had. But lately, things felt off. You ever notice how people start whispering near the break room when you walk by? Or how leadership starts praising new blood without mentioning the people who made the bloodstream flow to begin with? There was a new guy. Fresh hire, startup pedigree, fancy sneakers, louder voice. In their first group lunch, he leaned across the table, grinning like a TED talk with teeth, and said, "They're gonna clean house, huh?" Like it was a joke. Like she hadn't helped build that house with duct tape, red-eye flights, and commission checks that paid off her student loans. And hey, before we go deeper, real quick favor. If you're one of the beautiful 97% of folks who listen to these stories without subscribing, help a storyteller out. I'm trying to hit my first ever 10,000 subscribers. It's free, it helps me keep doing this full time, and it means the world. All right, back to the wreckage. Olivia wasn't stupid. She saw the signs. Ryan, the golden boy VP, had just been promoted and was already doing that thing insecure men do when they smell a woman who knows more than them. They smile wide, quote Gary V, and start calling your wins luck. He'd rolled into the last strategy meeting with a slide deck that looked like it was made on TikTok and declared the company needed to go bolder, go bigger, go viral. She had to sit there, biting her tongue, while he referred to her largest client renewal as a fluke, right in front of the team. But Olivia had something Ryan didn't. She had depth. The kind that doesn't show up in spreadsheets or on LinkedIn hype posts. The kind of depth that comes from learning what makes a CFO really panic at 3 a.m., or how to pivot a sales pitch mid-call because the client's dog died and they need empathy more than pricing tiers. She'd saved deals that were deader than disco and turned them into decade-long partnerships. She'd coached junior reps, built decks from scratch, and once stayed up until 4 a.m. helping a client navigate a merger on her vacation. So when the first signs of frostbite showed up, no invite to the offsite, her quarterly bonus adjusted for department reallocation, her Slack messages left on read for 3 days, she didn't panic. She documented. She backed up her files. She exported every client's engagement history into a secure, anonymized CRM folder labeled just in case. She wasn't naive. She'd worked too damn hard for too damn long to not be prepared. Because Olivia knew when people stop seeing you, stop listening to you, stop respecting what you bring to the table, it doesn't mean you've lost value. It means they've lost vision. And when people lose vision, they tend to walk into walls. She just didn't realize how hard Ryan was about to slam face first into the one she'd built behind the scenes. Ryan walked into the Monday all-hands like he was filming a promo for a startup docuseries no one asked for. Fresh haircut, watch that cost more than Olivia's first car, and a smile sharp enough to slice deli meat. The kind of guy who called coffee fuel deals hustles, and employees rock stars, right before firing them for not hitting imaginary KPIs. He'd only been with the company for 7 months before getting promoted to VP of sales, and rumor had it he got the job because he once closed a deal using only emojis and a meme of Elon Musk. He started his intro speech by saying the word synergy 5 times in 3 minutes. By the time he hit disruption, Olivia had already clocked him as dangerous. Not because he was smart, he wasn't, but because he thought he was smarter than the room. And that kind of confidence, that's what gets people killed in action movies and quarterly forecasts. He strutted around meetings like he was allergic to chairs, clicking through his slideshow like he was doing a TED talk for toddlers. Everything was now, fast, 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 big numbers, big impact. Olivia's carefully nurtured, high-retention accounts, he called them slow burn dead weight, said they needed to focus on high-velocity pipeline acceleration. Whatever the hell that meant. Probably something he picked up from a podcast hosted by a guy who sells drop-shipped protein powder. The first real knife came during a team meeting. Olivia had just walked everyone through a high-touch account strategy that landed a renewal 18% above projected value, years of relationship building, honest check-ins, and old-school loyalty. Ryan chuckled and said, "That's adorable, but we need to think less Hallmark Channel and more Shark Tank." The room laughed because they had to. Olivia didn't flinch. She just blinked slowly and wrote his words down in her notebook under a section she'd titled, "Evidence for When This Inevitably Implodes." Behind the scenes, the reassignments began. Subtle at first. A junior AE shadowing her on client calls. Cross-functional realignment that put one of Ryan's favorites on her most lucrative territory. Olivia's biggest account suddenly had a new point of contact she wasn't CC'd on, and when she asked about it, she got a chirpy Slack message from Ryan's assistant, per Ryan's directive. "LMK if you have questions, no punctuation, just vibes and gaslight." Still, her clients kept calling her, even when someone else was technically on the account. One even joked, "I thought you got promoted, you're everywhere now." She laughed, said nothing. But that night, she logged into her personal CRM tool, the one she'd quietly developed in her free time when she realized the company's database couldn't track a fart in an elevator. She started exporting every interaction she could get her hands on. Not client names, she wasn't stupid, but timelines, patterns, notes on decision makers, pain points, favorite small talk topics, emotional blueprints of every deal she'd ever touched. She labeled the folder Life Raft. Ryan, meanwhile, had started turning the office into a parody of a tech startup. Standing desks, motivational quotes on the walls, mandatory Crush It Fridays where everyone had to post a LinkedIn brag. He launched a TikTok campaign with a ring light and a company-branded hashtag. It flopped in 48 hours. Olivia just kept doing what she'd always done, checking in, following up, delivering, and every time Ryan tried to undercut her, she let the numbers speak. Until even that wasn't enough. Because the thing about golden boys, they only shine when the lights are on them. The second someone starts pulling focus, especially a quiet woman who's been outperforming since he learned what a CRM was, they get twitchy. And twitchy men in power make messy, stupid decisions. Olivia didn't know when the axe would fall, but she could feel the air shifting, colder, more artificial, like the oxygen had been replaced by corporate buzzwords. She stopped attending the team happy hours, stopped offering advice during brainstorms. Instead, she documented, archived, built her exit like she built her sales funnel, quiet, precise, inevitable. And while Ryan kept chasing the spotlight, Olivia started building her escape in the dark. It didn't happen all at once. No smoking gun. No dramatic confrontation with someone yelling "You're done here," like in a bad courtroom drama. Just the slow, surgical unraveling of everything Olivia had built. One passive-aggressive email, one calendar snub, one policy update at a time. First came the silence. Every Monday morning used to kick off with the strategic revenue sync, 30 minutes, cameras on, where Olivia briefed leadership on renewals in motion, upsells on the horizon, and accounts at risk. Never missed one. Then one day the invite just wasn't there. She checked her spam folder. "Nothing," asked the coordinator. "Oh," they said, feigning confusion. Ryan said it was a tighter group now, just core strategy. She was the strategy. Next came the restructured commissions. No warning, no memo. Just a surprise line item on her paycheck with half the expected bonus and a footnote in the payroll portal that read, "Adjusted to reflect updated incentive alignment." She stared at it for a full 3 minutes, ran the numbers again, then ran them a third time just to make sure her eyes weren't lying to her. Her compensation had been sliced like lunch meat by someone who didn't have the guts to look her in the face while doing it. She forwarded the statement to HR. Got a reply 2 days later. "Compensation structures are reviewed regularly to reflect departmental strategy. Let us know if you'd like to schedule time to align expectations." Align expectations. That was their new catchphrase. It was code for sit down and take it. Then came the real slap. One of her oldest accounts, a legacy client she had nurtured through 3 acquisitions and a mid-merger software migration, renewed for a 3-year contract. Olivia had done all the legwork, weekly calls, late-night support, walked them through a pricing overhaul and an API rollout that practically saved their internal operations. But when the deal was announced company-wide, it wasn't her name on the slide deck. It was Evan's. 24, fresh out of an MBA program, Ryan's pet project. The kid didn't even know what the client's product was. Olivia stared at the internal email congratulating him, then closed her laptop without a word. It didn't matter. Everyone on the client side had already sent her a thank you message. One even wrote, "If Evan's the lead now, we're going to need more hand-holding than usual." The kind of sarcasm that felt like a pat on the back and a punch to the gut at the same time. She took a walk that afternoon, left the office, turned off Slack, and just walked. Past the vape shop. Past the Vietnamese place where she and her old AE team used to grab lunch. She didn't cry. Not yet. There was a tightness in her chest, like her body knew something her mind was still trying to suppress. Kind of mourning. When she came back, her desk phone was gone, just removed, replaced by a generic VoIP headset, no explanation. IT didn't answer her ticket for 2 days. By the end of that week, HR scheduled a career alignment discussion. The meeting invite didn't even include a real agenda, just touch base on development track. Olivia showed up, smile neutral, notes ready. The HR rep, some perky blonde with buzzword fluency and zero context, said things like, "There's concern that you're resistant to the company's new energy, and leadership's hoping you can lean into a more scalable communication style." She asked what that meant. They blinked like deer in the headlights. Eventually landed on, "You might want to observe how Ryan engages the team. It's aspirational." Aspirational. Olivia smiled, said thank you, left the room. She didn't scream, didn't throw her coffee across the wall like she wanted to. She went back to her desk, opened her private CRM, and added 2 more encrypted profiles. She opened a Google Doc titled Plan B. Wrote Phase 1, Legal Entity Formation. Then, Phase 2, Ghost Mode initiated. This wasn't about saving her job anymore. That ship had sailed with Ryan on the bow, waving his damn PowerPoint clicker like a pirate flag. This was about control. About preserving the one thing they couldn't dilute, gaslight, or steal, her value. They could cut her out of meetings. They could fudge her numbers, steal her credit, rewrite her narrative in real time. But they forgot something critical. You can't delete a reputation that lives outside your Slack channel. Humiliation was turning into clarity now. Cold, focused, dangerous. And somewhere deep in her bones, Olivia felt a strange, steady calm rising, a promise she whispered only to herself. "You want scalable? Watch me scale out." It came like a bad punchline, late, lazy, and gutless. 6:02 p.m. on a Friday. Olivia was halfway through alphabetizing her client files for the week, sipping cold coffee from a chipped mug that said "World's Okayest Closer" when the email dinged. Subject line, update on her. She clicked it, didn't even flinch, just stared at the words like they were printed in crayon. "After careful review of departmental strategy and performance alignment, we've determined your role is no longer in sync with the evolving direction of the company. Effective immediately, your position has been terminated. We appreciate your contributions and wish you well in your future endeavors." HR was CC'd. No call, no meeting. Just digital cowardice wrapped in corporate fluff, like they'd outsourced the whole thing to ChatGPT with a prompt that said "fire quietly, avoid lawsuits." Ryan didn't even sign it himself. Just Best, the sales leadership team, Best, like he was signing a damn Christmas card. Olivia stared at the screen for a few seconds. No emotion, just a long exhale like she'd been bracing for a punch that finally landed. Then, without blinking, she hit reply. "Thanks for the clarity." Click, sent. Then she moved. There were 3 tabs already open, her private CRM, a secure Google Drive, and a checklist labeled Exit Protocol. She wasn't surprised, she was ready. Every client profile had been scrubbed of personal identifiers, nothing traceable, nothing illegal. Just behavioral insights, pain points, timeline notes, all anonymized and encrypted. Relationship scaffolding, she'd built: one call, one problem. 2 a.m. panic text our time. She hit export all, the folder zipped. She uploaded it to an offline hard drive, disconnected it, and placed it in the old shoebox under her desk marked Q3 swag. No one would check there. Then she logged out of Slack, Zoom, Salesforce, HubSpot, all of it. She didn't say goodbye, didn't post some self-congratulatory on to new adventures. Status on LinkedIn, she just left. Clean, cold, surgical, and then, the first time in hours, she smiled. Because there was one more name on her to-do list, Danny Rodriguez. Danny had been her roommate back in undergrad, back when they both worked part-time in the university's business lab for $6 an hour and shared a microwave and dreams about someday. These days, Danny ran a boutique sales consultancy based out of Austin. Fully legal, fully compliant, built for speed. Olivia had helped her brainstorm the name 5 years ago, Bridge and Signal. The kind of company that lived in the gray areas, built bridges between burned clients and new platforms, signaled to the market that old methods weren't cutting it anymore. Olivia dialed. 1 ring, 2. Liv, Danny answered with background noise, kids yelling, dog barking, wind. "I'm free," Olivia said, as of 10 minutes ago. A pause, no severance, not even a phone call. Jesus Christ. "Okay, I've got a shell LLC you can spin up tomorrow. We've got tech, compliance, back office covered. You bring the fire, you in? I'm in." And just like that, Olivia wasn't unemployed. She was unleashed. She hung up, walked to her kitchen, opened a bottle of cheap red wine, and poured exactly 3 fingers into a chipped glass from an old company Christmas party. #Team Crushers, it read. The irony wasn't lost on her. She toasted the silence and opened a new notebook and wrote one word at the top: reclamation. Because that's what this was now, not a comeback, not revenge, a reclamation of every win they dismissed, every relationship they tried to reassign, every piece of value they pretended they created from scratch. She was done being quiet. The LLC papers cleared in 48 hours. The name wasn't flashy Anchor Point Solutions, but it wasn't meant to be. No neon logos, no venture funding, no hype. Just Olivia, her laptop, a private CRM, and 6 years of earned trust that couldn't be bought, faked, or delegated to a junior rep with a LinkedIn certificate and a ring light. Her overhead was non-existent. Danny's team set her up with a clean back-end stack, secure contracts, automated invoicing, encrypted file storage. Olivia picked a neutral domain, built a bare-bones site, and wrote the copy herself. no sales jargon. Just a quiet manifesto. If your business depends on people, your sales strategy should too. That was it. No testimonials, no pricing tables, no pop-ups. Just her name, her mission, and a contact form that fed directly into the CRM folder marked inbound, trusted. She didn't blast announcements, didn't beg for attention. She reached out to exactly 5 people. That's it. 5. The ones who'd texted her after she disappeared. The ones who said things like, "I hope you're doing okay. You were the only reason we stuck around." Her message wasn't a pitch. It was a whisper. "Hey, just wanted to share where I landed. No pressure, just staying in touch. If you ever need support or clarity, I'm here. Hope your quarter is strong." No links, no attachments. Just a breadcrumb trail, quiet, respectful, surgical. 3 replied within an hour. Meanwhile, Ryan was doing his best to turn the company into a frat house with Wi-Fi. He announced a new vision in a company-wide Slack blast filled with fire emojis, gifs of Steve Jobs, and a picture of himself standing in front of a whiteboard covered in arrows and dollar signs. He called it Sales 3.0. Olivia called it desperate. He'd replaced her with a guy named Chad. Yes, actually Chad, whose greatest achievement so far was running a fantasy football league and building engagement on TikTok by reacting to sales memes in a ring light. Chad was assigned Olivia's old territory. First week in, he botched a 6-figure renewal by quoting the wrong platform specs to a CTO who had personally asked for Olivia by name last quarter. The deal fell apart in 72 hours. Internally, Ryan called it a miscommunication. Externally, client called Olivia, not her new business, her personal number. She let it ring once, twice, then answered. "Hey," the client said, "not trying to cross wires here, but you doing your own thing now?" "I am. You available for consult off the record?" "We're trying to make sense of the handoff." She paused, then smiled. "Sure, let's talk Monday." That was the moment it shifted, that tiny click in her chest where fear gives way to momentum. She didn't feel like a refugee. She felt like a ghost in the system, quiet, invisible, but everywhere they didn't want her to be. She wasn't chasing anything now. She was building something real while they were busy chasing each other in circles. Back at Ryan's circus, Sales 3.0 was already cracking. Slack channels filled with panicked reps asking basic client history questions. Onboarding materials Olivia had written were suddenly flagged as missing context. Revenue projections dipped. Ryan doubled down, launching a contest where the winner got a company-branded Yeti cooler and a LinkedIn shoutout. Olivia, meanwhile, signed her first 2 contracts. Nothing massive, $8K and $12K respectively, but clean, profitable, zero politics. And the feedback from both clients was identical. "You're the only one who understood what we actually needed." She poured herself another glass of wine that night. No celebration, just acknowledgement, like a quiet nod between soldiers in a war she didn't start but refused to lose. They thought she was gone. But ghosts don't leave, they haunt. Especially the ones who built the house to begin with. The cracks weren't loud. They never are at first. Just small tremors, a rescheduled QBR here, a "we'll circle back" there. But anyone who's been in sales long enough knows the difference between normal churn and the kind that signals a collapse. Ryan didn't, Olivia did, and she felt it like a sixth sense because those tremors, they were hers. It started with a client she hadn't even contacted. They reached out through the Anchor Point website. No fluff, no filler. "We're looking for someone who understands continuity through change." We liked Olivia, not the platform. No NDA broken. No contracts breached. Just a whisper across the void. Olivia signed them under a new LLC created for exactly this reason. Completely detached, legally sound, buried 3 shells deep. The invoice went through. The check cleared. Ryan's name was never mentioned. 3 days later, another old client called. Different industry, same story. It's not personal, they told the AE assigned to them. But it was, they just didn't want to say it out loud. Olivia signed them too, 2 contracts, old relationships. New paperwork, no traceable link. Every clause scrubbed. Every handoff legal. She wasn't playing dirty, she was playing smart. Ryan, on the other hand, started unraveling like a cheap tie at a job interview. At first, he played it cool. Sent out a department-wide pep email about temporary turbulence in the market and an exciting pivot toward high-growth opportunities. But behind the scenes, his emails to clients became increasingly erratic. Several forwarded them to Olivia. One was almost threatening. "We'd strongly prefer you not engage with former employees whose activities may not be aligned with your agreement." Another included the subject line, "Concerning developments, a friendly reminder." Concerning indeed. That's when the cease and desist letter came. It was dressed up in legalese, but read like a tantrum in a suit. Vague accusations about unfair competition and client confusion. Olivia forwarded it to Danny's legal counsel. They read it, laughed, and sent back a 1-sentence reply. "We are in full compliance. Please review your own engagement contracts before sending speculative threats." The letter died in the inbox, unanswered. No follow-up, but the damage inside the company had already started. A board member, an old finance guy with a memory like a steel trap, finally asked the question everyone had been dancing around. "Why are we bleeding our most stable accounts?" There was a pause on the call, according to a junior rep who leaked the transcript to a friend who leaked it to Olivia. Ryan mumbled something about market conditions, product pivoting, and the natural evolution of client life cycles. The board wasn't buying it. That same week, the company lost its second largest account, one that had been on Olivia's watch for 5 years. Quietly exited, no announcement, no drama. Just a line item on a spreadsheet marked churned Q2. Ryan called it inevitable. Olivia called it earned, because clients don't leave platforms, they leave people. And when the one person they trusted is gone, the rest is just software. Olivia didn't spike the football. She didn't need to. She spent her evenings tightening her workflows, streamlining her CRM, and onboarding 2 new referrals that came directly from the accounts she'd already signed. Word was spreading. Not loud, not viral, just enough. Whispered in Slack DMs and B2B dinners. She's the one you want if you don't want to be treated like a number. Back at HQ, Ryan started instituting visibility reports, mandatory twice-weekly updates where AEs had to log every client interaction, including tone, objections, emotional response. Basically, a cheap imitation of the tracking Olivia had done for years. The reps hated it. One even quit mid-shift after being told to log empathy scores. Olivia, she just kept working. Lean, precise, and now visible. It started with a LinkedIn message from someone she didn't know. A woman named Bridget Chen, VP of Growth at a mid-sized software firm out of Atlanta. The message was short, professional, and surprisingly direct. We're hosting a small business roundtable in Austin next month. Your name came up twice. We'd love to feature you as a breakout story. Theme is resilience and retention. Interested? Olivia blinked at the screen for a while. Her name came up twice. In rooms she hadn't entered, in conversations she didn't even know were happening. She read the message again, slower this time. Not sales rep, not former AE. Breakout story. She clicked accept. The event wasn't flashy, no stage lights or branded coffee carts. Just 30 people in a rented WeWork space, sitting in a circle, swapping battle scars and hard-won lessons. But the crowd was razor sharp. Founders, ops leaders, a few early-stage CEOs, all hungry for tactics that actually worked. Olivia didn't come with a pitch. She didn't need one. She came with stories, real ones. Like how she once retained a legacy account by sending a condolence card when the client's father passed, and didn't follow up for 6 weeks, not to close, but to listen. How she built a 12-step pulse system to detect churn risk before it showed up in the data. How she never sent a proposal before asking, "What are you scared will go wrong?" By the end, 3 people asked for her card. Word got out. Quietly but fast. The kind of buzz that matters. The kind whispered during lunch breaks and on late-night Zoom calls after too much bourbon. Companies didn't just want revenue anymore. They wanted stability. They wanted loyalty. And they were starting to realize the path to both wasn't in TikTok campaigns or AI email spam. It was in Olivia. 2 weeks after the round table, she signed her 5th client. By then, the company she left behind was starting to hemorrhage. Ryan's team had committed the one sin the B2B world never forgives, treating every client like a number in a dashboard. And when you do that, numbers eventually walk. 2 high-profile accounts dropped them within the same week. One cited strategy misalignment. The other didn't bother with a reason, they just stopped returning calls. Both had been Olivia's clients. Both were now on her watch list. Inside the company, panic set in. Ryan called an emergency summit to recenter the vision. It lasted 6 hours and produced a 7-slide deck titled Q3 Client Reclamation Strategy. No one read it. One rep leaked a screenshot to a private Slack channel with the caption, "Olivia left and took the damn soul of the place with her." That night, Olivia stayed up late. Not to celebrate, not even to strategize, just to feel it. The shift, the weight of it, the strange, quiet joy of seeing the world tilt back towards something fair. She didn't throw a party, didn't text anyone. She poured a single glass of whiskey neat and took it to the tiny balcony of her apartment. The city lights were dull and soft, a little breeze. Somewhere far below, a siren wailed. She lifted the glass and whispered to no one in particular, to not being replaceable. Then she drank, alone, and absolutely victorious. The report hit inboxes at 8:01 a.m. sharp. Subject line, Q2 summary internal use only. It was supposed to be routine, just another color-coded slide deck with too much jargon and not enough truth. But this one landed like a funeral bell. Revenue was down 73%, not a dip, not a blip, a nosedive straight into the floorboards. Slack went dead silent, then exploded. One rep DM'd another, "Is this a typo?" Another pinged the finance channel with a single emoji, the scream face. By 8:12 a.m., the board had scheduled an emergency call. By 8:17, Ryan was already drafting his defense, copy-pasting phrases like global uncertainty, economic headwinds, and consumer volatility from the business buzzword Bible. He was sweating in his Herman Miller chair, clicking through Google Trends like he could somehow keyword his way out of disaster. But the board wasn't buying it. Not this time. They'd let him play the genius for 2 quarters. Let him sell the dream, cut legacy deals, reshuffle the team like a Vegas blackjack dealer hopped up on Red Bull. But now the numbers were screaming something different. And numbers don't lie. People do. What really lit the fire, though, wasn't the spreadsheet. It was the leak. An email forwarded to a board member by a VP who'd finally had enough. The message was from a client, an old, loyal, high-value client responding to a desperate attempt to reignite the partnership. The response? We didn't leave the product, we left him. Just 5 words, but they hit like a sledgehammer. We left him, not the platform, not the pricing, him. That line made it into the investor call, unedited, read aloud in full by a shareholder who had been cautiously optimistic until that very moment. And then came the name. One of the board members, a woman who'd met Olivia once at a product summit years back, asked flatly, "Remind me why we didn't retain Olivia Carson?" Ryan stammered, mumbled something about culture fit and evolving direction. But the tone of the call had already shifted. People were checking out, muting themselves. Someone coughed loudly, the kind of cough that really meant you're full of shit. Because the thing was, everyone knew, they'd all seen it happen in real time. Olivia's name had been on every major renewal for half a decade. Clients trusted her like she was family. She wasn't just a sales rep. She was retention in human form, and now she was gone. Gone and winning. As Ryan tried to explain away the churn with meaningless charts, another email landed in Olivia's inbox. Subject line, referred by Bridget, looking for a relationship-based consultant. Inside was a VP of partnerships from a firm she'd never worked with, asking if she was open to a short-term engagement to rebuild their client experience model. The rate? Triple what she'd earned at her old job. She didn't even blink. Just replied, "Happy to talk next week. Let me know what's convenient." Back inside Ryan's crumbling empire, the sales floor was a graveyard of cold calls and half-hearted optimism. The junior reps had started applying elsewhere. The senior ones were already quietly reaching out to Olivia on LinkedIn, sending polite feelers. "Big fan of your approach. Would love to pick your brain sometime." And in the corner office, Ryan sat in front of his metrics dashboard, watching the line fall lower and lower, trying to figure out when exactly the Fluke became the future he couldn't buy back. The ballroom lights dimmed, and the conference host's voice rang out over the sound system. Up next, Olivia Carson, founder of Anchor Point Solutions. Her talk today is titled Fluke-Proof Sales, Building Loyalty They Can't Steal. The crowd rustled with anticipation. No intro video, no sizzle reel. Just Olivia walking onstage in a simple navy blazer, hair pulled back, tablet in hand. Calm, focused, like she'd been waiting for this moment her entire career but hadn't needed it to know her worth. She started without preamble. "Let me tell you a secret," she said. Voice steady, "Clients don't renew because you dazzled them. They renew because they trusted you." She let the silence sit. A few heads nodded, a few leaned in. Then came the slides. Not product features, not upsell tricks, just hard numbers. Graphs showing the life cycle of client retention based on emotional engagement. Real data from anonymous case studies, anonymous to everyone but her. Could practically feel the room freeze as one chart popped up. Retention rates, pre-departure vs post-departure. A 73% drop. She didn't explain it, just let the graph hang in the air. "Here's what happens," Olivia said, flipping to the next slide, "when companies treat trust like a line item." She never said his name, never mentioned the company, the emails, the Friday firing. But the absence said everything. The people who needed to know, they knew. Another slide, client trust metrics mapped against employee retention. Then another, silent churn indicators, non-responsiveness, delayed renewals, decision-makers avoiding meetings. The final slide, just 3 words on a white background, "They remembered me," and that was it. 30 minutes, no flash, no flare, just raw truth delivered with surgical precision. The applause wasn't explosive, it was deep. Long. Earned. The kind of clap that says, "You didn't just teach us. You wrecked our excuses." She left the stage without lingering. No interviews, no photos by the branded backdrop. Just a quiet exit through the service corridor the way she always moved, unnoticed by the crowd, unforgettable to the right ones. As she walked toward the car waiting to take her to the airport, her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "This is Ava McClure from Argus Technologies. We saw your talk. I'd like to discuss a role. Strategic partnerships lead. Not your firm. Can you talk Monday?" She read it twice. Then slipped the phone back into her bag. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just looked up at the sky, gray, overcast, honest, and exhaled. The kind of breath you only take when justice doesn't show up with fireworks, but with silence and truth and a line that finally goes up again. Fluke? No, she was the standard. And now they all knew it. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes again.